Good afternoon. Morning, you heard Winston talking about different linguistic theories and other things about translation. So let's discuss now about culture, how it can affect our translation or even our choices, because when we translate something, all the time we make choices. A word for another word, or sometimes we may have 10 words in our language, sometimes we may not have, we may choose a particular structure. All the choice we make, and as a human being, we all are unique. I am not similar to you, he is not similar to her, she is not similar to somebody, everybody is unique, right? So how I will translate, it will differ from yours translation will differ from hers. So that's how we make choices, and when we make choices, our culture plays a very crucial role. So I want you to react to this picture. Can you react to this picture? Yeah. How what came to your mind when you see this? Disgust and anybody else? What is your reaction once you see this? Disgust. Anybody thinks it is tasty? No? Okay. Maybe. The name of this delicacy is in Chinese Shailja Jha, probably that's how it is pronounced, I don't know exact pronunciation, and it literally translates as three screams. Why? Why you know? The mice you can see are live. So in Chinese culture, or even if you go beyond China, maybe Vietnam, Thailand, Cambodia, all these South Asian region, they have that delicacy. And they imagine that when the live mice are served in the platter, they use the chopstick. They will pick the mice with the chopstick. Right? It will scream first. First time it will scream because it is live. Second time they will dip in the sauce. It will scream for the second time. And when it will ultimately put into mouth, it will scream for the third time. And this is a delicacy.
Do they also eat the tail? I'm just curious.
Why not?
It's slimy, sir.
Okay. That means you must have tested it. No, but
In India also
Musahar is there,
there is one good fish.
especially the rat found in the agricultural area.
Inside the rice fields, especially in rice field, not agriculture, especially in rice fields.
This Gobi Ghat, that Gobi Ghat actually mentions about it.
And depending upon the kind of rice or kind of field, they say that the taste differs.
Yeah.
They also take the rice that the rain store in the bowls.
And then they cook it together.
Yeah. The blood is used and other things.
Most
So that is about South Asia or something. But what about India? We are a multicultural society. What you eat, I may not eat. What I serve, I not eat. We all eat different things. We wear differently. We talk differently. We sing differently. I know that this room may be having at least 20 mother tongue speakers. 30 different types of food, probably people sitting in this room may be liking or eating. Right. So what about India? Do you know what it is? Silkworm. From where you are? You are from Odisha.
It's also from Kardiala.
Silkworm is very famous. Silk is famous. Assam silk is famous. When I went to Mysore, I got to know that Mysore is very famous for silk. Mysore silk. So I may have even bought Mysore silk. Very expensive, 20,000 plus. I went there because I am from Assam. I know about this, and I have eaten many times. Okay, traditionally we prepare at our home and we eat it. This is a very normal thing for us. So when I went to Mysore, I asked one of my friends that Mysore produces silk. So where can I get it? Actually the pipa, this is called the pipa. Where can I get it? She said, what do you want to do with that? I said, no, we want to eat it. How you eat it? I asked. That she's a lady. And she said, what you were talking about? She's a vegetarian. I didn't know about that. Then she said, how can you even imagine about eating this? I said, no, this is a kind of staple. Staple means not in rice kind of staple, but whenever this is available, everybody will eat. It's not like that I don't eat something like that. And almost everybody eats. Then she said, no, here nobody eats. I said, I don't believe you. Can you find out what they do? Because no civilized or a society that has common sense will not throw so much of protein. This is a source of protein. And no society, conscious society cannot throw away that much of protein. Because our all food habits, taste and all, you forget about that. But our tradition is so nicely designed, what we eat, what we don't eat. Actually it includes all kinds of different protein, fat, carbs, everything is combined in our dish. We may not be thinking about that, but it is done, traditionally it is done. So then she asked one of her friends who works in the sericulture department. Then after a couple of days he came back and said me, see, I inquired about this. He said that these are sold in bulk. But to whom? He said that mostly bakeries and biscuit making companies. So they will grind it and mix with bakery products and biscuits, all those things. So I don't know, I mean probably sometimes it may have even vegetarian tag, but it may contain this protein.
No, they mentioned that in the Mysore biscuits, they mentioned that it contains a
Yeah. Tasting. This one you know?
Yeah, right.
Anybody from Jharkhand or Chhattisgarh here? Nobody.
This is also available in parts of Odisha.
Odisha, Assam,
Yeah.
it's a ant egg, but this is a slightly bigger size of ant. Assam, we have a tradition in Bihu, in the month of April, that Nalanda or Bahag we will celebrate. This is a tradition that we collect this ant egg, fry with eggs, normal chicken or dark eggs, especially dark eggs, and we eat this. Very expensive. And anybody has interest in cooking? You have? Yeah. Yeah, okay. Have you heard about Gordon Ramsay?
Yes. Yeah.
He made a very famous series, The Great Escape.
Yeah.
He covers about India, Thai, and all Southeast Asian countries, cuisines and all. He actually in that one of the episodes, he talked about this and he made a chutney out of it. He was actually served by one tribe in somewhere Chhattisgarh or Jharkhand. Jharkhand. So Gordon Ramsay was telling him that this is one of the tastiest chutney he has ever tasted, and he also tried to take the recipe with him. So, but okay, I know these are not very comfortable to discuss just after the lunch, but why we are talking about? Because I want to bring the idea of ethnocentrism, judging others. We all judge others. I judge you, you judge me, we judge somebody, we all judge. And while judging, the scale is our culture. What I eat, if you are not eating the same thing, I mean, your food habit is not like me, then I will think that, oh, he is not good enough. If I am eating this, you may think that, oh, what kind of wild person this may be, because he is not probably civilized enough. All this kind of judging we do all the time, whether you like it, whether you express it, not expressive, that is the difference. But we all do. And this whole idea in judging other cultures, what they are wearing, there will be tribes in this world who are naked. Right? So we judge them, or they don't know how to wear. Somebody simply eating some wild things, even now also, in Delhi, Northeastern people are called wild only, jungly only. Right? These are ethnocentric ideas. So we all the time we judge people. And that's how, while we do that, I mean as a translator also we do that same thing. But we will come to that later. And opposite to ethnocentrism is cultural relativism. That is relatively open-minded. At least I may not be able to do what you are doing. I may not be able to eat what you are eating. I may not be able to dress as you are dressing. But at least I am open to the idea that what you are doing is fine. I may not be myself doing that what you are doing, but I am okay. As long as it is not affecting me, or as long as you are not forcing on me, I am fine. That is cultural relativism. And as a translator, or as a person who is translating a book, you never know what the text can contain, because the text will always have a culture embedded in it. Unless we are open, I don't think we will be able to tell justice. You think about the Chinese text that talks about that Chen Ji, or you think about the Assamese textbook, Assamese text that talks about this and egg, or you think about the text that talks about silkworm pupa is fried and served with rice beer, traditional rice beer in some parts of Assam. The text is talking about that. How we will approach as a translator? Unless you are open. Unless you can feel that taste, you will not be able to write it down. I am not saying you practically, physically go and eat it. But at least in your imagination, you should be able to taste it. Then only probably you will be able to do justice. So that's how the whole idea of choice comes, how we choose. And our culture plays a very crucial role. Because we all know now, see, what we eat at our home, if you are a vegetarian, you will always think that non-vegetarian people are not doing something right. If I am non-vegetarian, I will think that these people don't know what to eat or not to eat. And all these kind of things are all the time going on in our head. I mean, there are classes also in different social groups, right? But we'll just deviate a bit and come back again. Because this I find very interesting, the idea of choice. Because in the West now, there are a lot of people are discussing about it, studying about it, writing about it. More choice means more freedom, agree? Yeah. Freedom of choice, we have been talking about for so many years now. You agree? More choice, more freedom, lead to more welfare?
No.
Huh?
Not sure about that.
Not sure about that? Very interesting book, if you like to read. The Paradox of Choice by Barry Schwartz. Why more is less? Here he talks about the official dogma of Western industrial societies, countries. And more choice doesn't always refer to right choices. And more choice doesn't lead to liberation. It can create paralysis. It can create unhappiness. So sometimes having less choice is actually better. So the way we always think that okay, I have a lot of choice means I am liberated. No, because there are so many studies are going on, especially in the marketing people. They do. The more number of insurance plans a company has, the lesser number of products they will sell.
SKUs, they say.
Yeah.
Lower number of SKUs.
Yeah. They will always try to limit their number of SKUs. Why? Because more SKUs means we always think that it's a it's a liberation, it's a more choice for customer, but no. customer doesn't behave that way. Human doesn't behave that way. It may look or it may very good to hear that I have a lot of choices. But when I will have many more choices, probably I will take time to choose, I will be confused, and I will be unhappy. You go to a mall, you will see 100 different types of biscuits. Right? And you go to a village shop, probably only one or two, Good Day or Tiger or something. You have only two choices there, or maybe even sometimes one. But in a mall, if you go, you will have 100 choices. You will buy one biscuit, one flavor, come back and you will take a bite and always think that, oh, I should have got the other flavor. Your unhappiness started there. Confusion started there. But while you have only one or two choices, you are happy with that because you didn't have choices. So this is a little tricky idea. Actually, having more choice is good or having lesser choice is good. Little tricky, both the way. But it is not that having more choices are always good. This is already kind of proved by so many economists and all. So idea of culture. What is culture? We all know, but nobody knows kind of. Nobody can define culture yet fully. But normally we believe that it's a society or a social group's system of shared learned values and norms. These are the societies designed for living. That's how normally we, but this is not the full definition of culture. This is much more than that. So values means abstract ideas about good, the right, the desirable. Or norms, the social rules and guidelines. Guide appropriate behavior for specific situation. How you behave with a elderly, how you behave with a children, how you behave with a lady. All these, for all these, they are the social rules and regulations. And values means abstract ideas. These are kind of something is good for my society, may not be good for your society. And there will be a lot of other kind of terms you will hear all the time. Folk culture, popular culture, mass culture, high culture, low culture, subculture. We all have idea. Folk culture is something practiced by the folk groups. Popular culture, when it became popular among the social level, mass, and that ultimately it will become mass level. Mass culture, they always consider that there is a business side to it. It is marketed. That's how it became mass culture. And high culture means people that are considered to be the higher stratum of the society. Low culture means people lower stratum of the society. And subculture, that is the people that goes against the tide. Very small group of people who always go against the social tide or common tide. So that culture is called subculture. So these all kind of words are there. But Anthony Pym talks about another word called interculture. Winston also talked about Anthony Pym. He is a theorist, a translation theorist. He talks about another term called interculture. He believes that where two cultural group, two or three maybe, cultural group resides nearby, there will be overlapping of culture in the borderlands. So that culture he tries to define as the interculture. And he says that, he discussed about that those cultures are actually mix of different culture. Like I cannot give you an example of interculture, but I can give you an example of Nagamese language. Nagamese is a mixture of Assamese and Hindi and even some words from the local Naga language. Now it's a language. It was Creole and Pidgin and all once upon a time, but it is full-fledged language. So it developed in the borderland where people from the valley and from the hills come and meet for business. They exchange different products, produces and all. They develop. So interculture also can be imagined like this. And Pym says, further says, to avoid hasty assumptions of monoculture, I propose that culture to be left undefined as the area where we have most to discover. Then he try to define culture through translation. More exactly, individual cultures can be defined by negotiation, not as the sources or targets of the text, but as resistance to the movement of text from one translation to another. When we translate a line or a paragraph or a text from one language to another, we feel a resistance. Well, resistance means, are you getting what I'm saying? Resistance means probably we don't have enough word, we don't have enough expression, we don't have that specific type of practice in our culture, so we are finding troublesome to actually express in our language or culture. So that resistance, with that resistance, we can define culture. So this Winston talked about cultural turn in translator. We will not get into that. Actually, the cultural turn in translation, the translation started with the Marison and Hornby, and she only said that, proposed that a good translator has to be bilingual, of course, but he also has to be bicultural. So now, if you see the present scenario, translation debates are no longer in terms of how to translate. This is not a question anymore. How to translate is no longer a question. And don't emphasize on that, because we all will translate differently, and that's what we want. If you translate similar to mine, then why you are translating? Only I can translate, right? So different people will translate differently. So how to translate is not a question. I personally believe that any translation is correct. You may find linguistic mistake in that. You may find spelling mistake on that. But the meaning or the message you want to convey with your translation can be different. How you read the text and what you understand from it, it should not be similar. Or we should not always say that it has to be same for all. No, it cannot be, or it should not be. So now translation actually debates expanded into three more questions: who, why, and when. Who is translating? Why he is translating? And when he is translating. I'll give you a nice example how it will work. I think you guys are young enough. Maybe you have not seen that. Maybe Sir may have seen when I was very young, maybe in primary school. That time we used to get a magazine called Soviet This, 80s, early 80s. And lot of Soviet This, I know, published in Bengali also, maybe Hindi also, Punjabi, I know, Assamese, and lot of Russian literature. Gorky was translated that time, Dostoevsky, all this Turgenev, all Russian writers was translated into Indian language. Even if you go into Malayalam, Tamil, you will see all this Russian literature, 70s, 80s, up to late 80s probably. One Rodagu publication or something, Raduga publication. It is fully Russian publication. Came, set up their publication house, printing facilities, so nice quality books, glossy paper print and monthly magazines, Soviet This everywhere. These are translated mostly. McDorty was translated that time. Turgenev was translated. Why? The question is that because the socialism and Marxism they wanted to push, propagate. Because we know Nehru had the inclination towards socialism of Russian socialism, right? So it is important, that background. And who is translating? Who are those people? If you see the writers, translators, those are mostly workers of the Marxist parties. And when they were doing, that we all know, when socialism was the peak, once socialism fell, it is proved that it is not successful one after that it stopped. So we need to see the background, the perspective, beyond the text. In what context it is being done, the work. So context became more crucial in explaining or comprehending a translation. Translation is an ideological representation of the source linguistics. Therefore, the meaning of the translation goes beyond the meaning of the source linguistics. Source linguistics. Here, target language, SL source language. So what happened? See, I picked up a book. Suppose, for example, I am a Marxist. I picked up a book. I translate. Somewhere I put Marxist ideology. You are a right winger. You will put right wing ideology in it. Whether intentionally, not intentionally, forget about it. But it will be there. So that's why it is an ideological revision. The text I am consuming, then when I am taking it out, I will blend it with my ideology. Intentionally, unintentionally, whatever. And ultimately the translation that will come up, that will reflect my ideology, not the original text ideology. So then we will go into these cultural words that Peter Newmark talked about. So in 1988, Peter Newmark first introduced the term called cultural words, and he actually categorized all the cultural words into 5 main categories. Ecology, he is talking about flora, fauna, hills, winds and plains. Because maybe some 10 years back I was working in Sikkim for nearly 6 months or so. Then we have to record one of my colleagues was a linguist, and he was carrying a word list. You record the different words. So what happened? That guy was telling, okay, hill. That guy asking which type of hill? Recording Lepcha, Rai, Bandawarai, Kulumrai, all different communities. Then there is in the word list, linguists have a word list. Okay, they will take to the different linguistic community and they will collect the equivalent word, the recording. Then later on it will be transcribed and they can make a dictionary and it will be linguistic data for some kind of analysis. So there is an entry called hill or a mountain, for example. Then guy who was actually giving the lecture word, he is confused. He don't know what to say. Because mountain is very common in Sikkim. He said, what kind of mountain? And this guy is asking, meaning? He said, no. Mountain means with icy mountain, with a rocky mountain. They have different words. Like, imagine a mountain that has tree covers. Imagine there is a mountain that has only ice or snow. Imagine there is a, kind of mountain that has only rocks. All mountain has different words. But people sitting in Mysore or maybe in some parts of India where they don't know what mountain is, they will not understand. Similarly, if you go to Orissa beaches or Goa beaches, they will have 10 terms for different kind of sand. White sand, this sand, that sand, black sand, red sand, they will have different types of words. But coming from Assam, I only know one kind of sand. So that's how these are cultural words. Of course, it is geographical thing. Because these things are embedded in the culture. We will not call it red sand, black sand. They will have only single term. And also, there are sacred mountains. Sacred mountain, they will have different term. Kanchenjunga, they consider to be a sacred mountain. For that they will not call mountain only. So all these kind of things. Then, so he talked about this, the material culture, he talks about food, clothes, house and towns, transports, and social culture, work and leisure, then organizations, customs, activities, procedures, then concept, political and administrative, religious concept, artistic concept, then gesture and habits. Some parts of India you go, yes, they will call it like this. No, but it may be different. Sometimes some people say yes like this, some people say yes like this. Is that? And in some people you go, some society, I think Delhi and all go like they will make this sound and call. In my place, it will be considered very derogatory. It is derogatory in my place. You can get good beating if you do that socially. So, but in some places, this is very common, normal. Then Peter Newmark, he was suggesting that while translating cultural word and notion, so he was considering two different kind of methods. One is transference and one is componential analysis. Transference means gives local color keeping cultural names and concepts. And then componential analysis, they say that exclude the culture, that is not important at all, only concentrate on analysis. But nowadays different type of translation is happening, so some people may be following this method or that method. There is no way to tell them which method is correct. Maybe people are going beyond that. Now, an Indian culture which Sir will be talking, I think it is much more interesting. Indian tradition of translation. Because Sir may have seen, there is a very interesting story about it. NTM has published one book, History of Translation in India. So after the book came, there is a very nice review written by Harish Kudel. No, not Harish Kudel. Harish Kudel, yeah? They have written that because Harish Kudel, they say that translation in India started only after British came to India. I mean, from the colonial. Before that, what is happened here is not translation. This is a tricky question, but they have their own logic. And even A.K. Singh sir, he has his own logic. What it is actually, whether it is translation or see, we should not try to equate Western idea of translation and Indian idea of translation. Before they started writing, probably here we have done so many things, right? So
just tell them that the books are available on NTM site.
Yeah.
You can download and read.
Yeah.
What is the history of India?
History of translation in India.
Simply free download. NTM.org. Indian.org.
Or if you cannot find it, you can either of us, you can mail and you can send by email.
Next session will show that link.
Yeah. Then Venuti also talks about two similar type of strategies to deal with these cultural words or notion or expression. That is domestication, where TL culture, target language culture will be dominating, or modernization, where source language culture will be dominating. I won't say that okay, this is the correct way. You can choose as a translator if you are translating. So there is no right way of doing it. All the ways are correct. But Nico Vaishema, he talks about and he says that no, target text can be written in more foreignizing manner, wherein culturally bound elements are not translated. It helps learning and understanding the foreign culture. So his viewpoint is that. Yeah, there is also point. But yeah, not necessarily all the time, because I remember one of my Kannada friends who was translating a Camus, Albert Camus' play. So what happened? He was translating, and after completion, he has given to one of his friends. Okay, go and give me comments where I can improve. Then he said, no, I need very tough to read. Can you simplify? Kannada translation should be simple so that people can understand. He said, no, if you want to read Camus, you have to read him like this only. If I simplify it, it will be not Camus. You should go and read somebody else, not him like this. So all the people will have their own opinion how the translation should sound, whether it should look tough or easy, or you should kind of synthesize it and give the only message. So there are different approaches: adaptation, translation. So we can see a couple of examples. Kantara. Yeah, 2 years back I think it was one of the chart busters. In Kantara, they talk about two demigods. Panjuruli and another is I forgot. That bird, he does the bird imitation. No, not bird imitation. Panjuruli is the peak imitation, the peak demigod, and one is something. So the whole factories in South Canada, especially the Tulu belt, coastal Karnataka, Mangalore and Udupi region, if you go there, you will see that they will have demigods, family ancestral gods. And they worship every year. Okay, I saw because my wife is a Tulu. And that ritual is called Bhuta Aradhana. Bhuta plus Aradhana, which is Sandhi, became Bhuta Aradhana. So what happened when the German missionaries came and they have translated, you can see here. It was republished, 2008, but originally this guy was published in 18 something. They started cataloging local culture, and they have cataloged it as a, translated it as a, in those catalog as a devil worship. Bhuta means devil. Is it correct? Or what?
No, it's not correct.
What does Bhuta means there?
A ghost. But the ghost cannot just be evil all the time. Bhuta can have multiple meanings.
Yes.
It can be past.
Yes.
In our language it's past. It can be called as ghost or spirit. It can be called sometimes Bhuta is associated with the it's a regret or something in some religions. They call it
It's not only negative power. I mean, here it's like positive power and this more.
Shahrukh Khan Parevi.
So I believe personally, what I saw there, it's an ancestral god. Because they try to trace their family lineage from there. So it must be a Bhuta means past sense, but also it has a spirit sense. Both. Purpose. In that sense. So because they always trace their lineage and they believe that this Bhuta, specific spirit will protect them, guard the whole family. So, but this is how, if you don't know the background of it, this is how translation will come out. Then we will see. Ultimately. Then next example, we can see this is about kinship words. This is one of the toughest thing to deal with while you are translating it. Translating text. Because you see, I try to wrote down some Assamese, Hindi, Tamil and Kannada. Tamil and Kannada if you leave also. Assamese and Hindi part if I see. Uncle. I have 4 uncles, at least distinct 4 uncles. My father's elder brother is also uncle, younger brother is also uncle. My mother's elder brother is also uncle, younger brother is also uncle. Right? But the person who marries my aunt is also uncle. I am not talking about those. I will have 10, 12, 15 uncles in my culture, and I have different words for each uncle. I have words in my language. So, suppose I am translating a text from English. It talks about only uncle. I don't know which uncle he is talking about. So, it's a big problem for me. Because in my society, all uncles will have a social or cultural role to play. Mama will have a different social and cultural role. Right? In my culture, Mama will give the kanyadan. Right? Sometimes, some places may be father.
Yeah, in our culture, both can be father and
Mama.
If the father and the bride is of the same gotra, then mama will do. Or else the father.
Mama means the smaller one only, not the bigger one, right?
Yes, smaller one will do, not the bigger
Some
one.
of these terms I have to explain in English also because there are some people who don't know they are from Africa.
Yeah. So, Mama means, how would I say, it's a younger maternal uncle. But I recently translated one of the book actually deals with some of the African culture by, what was his name? Redcliffe Brown book. He also
Structure and function in
structure and function in primitive society. He actually talks about this kind of culture.
Mother's brother.
Mother's brother. There is a chapter called Mother's Brother. How mother's brother will have different cultural rules. But do you know, I said he also agreed that mama or maternal uncle does the kanyadan. Kanyadan means handing over the bride's hand to the groom formally in the marriage ceremony. Do you know, in some culture, mama has the first right to marry the banji.
Yeah. In South it's maternal brother and sister.
Mama has the first right to, if mama says no, then only she can be married to somebody else. Otherwise, mama has the first right socially. If he wants, he can.
South India.
Karnataka, some community, this is the social norm.
Even in Tamil Nadu.
Tamil Nadu also. Tamil Nadu husband is called mama. Maybe it is a trace to that, we don't know.
Some parts of South Odisha, that is linked to Andhra Pradesh or Telangana, there also the system is there.
Even his
This can be married.
Not exactly.
even Harish, our we have a colleague, his not wife, his sister was married to mother's younger brother.
And both his parents are doctors.
Both the parents are doctors. It is not that they are, we call in a very village living community and all. These are both are doctors.
MBBS doctors.
It's common for them.
So how you will deal with all those things? See, you are translating a text that is talking about mama marrying bhanji, which is in your culture is not acceptable. How we are going to deal with all this? I mean, honor killing can happen in some society, right? For this kind of practice. So these are
In the society, sorry.
so that's why we say unless we are open to accept the fact that all kind of things can happen in different cultures. Okay, for my cultural standard, this is may not be acceptable, fine. But as a translator, yeah, we have to negotiate all these things and find out a way. And that way probably nobody can teach you. No book can teach you, no teacher can teach you, nobody. You have to find out that way as a translator. With your own experience, with your own knowledge you have gathered, nobody can teach you how to deal with those things. That's why, how to translate is no more a question. That you have to find out. You have heard this term, I think.
Yes, sir.
Especially people from anthropology or sociology may have heard this term joking relationship. Have you heard?
Yes, sir. These are present in some tribes if you look at central India.
No.
Acha,
They are present in everywhere. Everywhere. Even in your home it is there. I can prove it.
Yeah,
Jiza Sali, brother-in-law and sister-in-law.
Yeah.
This joking relationship. Your relationship with your maternal uncle, mama.
Yeah, exactly.
Your relationship with your grandfather, grandparents. Joking relationship. They were bhabhi. All the joking relationship. What is joking relationship? A relationship where one party is required to take no offense at constant teasing or mocking by the others. You can take extra kind of independence or extra kind of you can tease them, you can demand things from them. Your relationship with your grandparents, grandfather or grandmother, it's much more informal than with your own parents. You'll be beaten up if you do the same thing with your parents. But your grandparents will not. They will guard you, in fact. Your maternal uncle, mama, will have altogether different relationship with you. You can demand anything. Take him to the shop, buy this sweet, buy this toy, everything you can demand from him. But you cannot do that same from your father's brother. Father's brother means, I don't know, चाचा. आप चाचा से वो नहीं कर सकते जो आप मामा से कर सकते
चाचा से ज्यादा होता है।
वो तुम्हारे चाचा अच्छे हैं, हमारे मामा अच्छे हैं।
Chacha also has Tao and Chacha. Okay.
No, but
Chacha you can ask, Tao you cannot ask.
Tao means father's elder brother.
No.
No, he is much more distant.
It's not a staff.
No, but most of the society in India will have more joking relationship with more strong with mama. But yeah, of course, maybe Chacha also it is there. But these are also different societies. So how you will deal with that? Sometimes in some texts you don't have to say that. Once you read that the relationship, that will only say what kind of relationship probably is there between the two characters. Once they mention that okay, this is their relationship, then you know how one will talk to the other. But if it doesn't match with your cultural norm, then the problem starts. Yeah, these are common in India with mama, with wife's sister, with grandparents, with husband's younger brother. That's why they say, na, sali aapki gharwali. No, there is a reason why. Yeah, there is a reason why. In ancient times, or even we translated the book, Redcliffe Brown's book. He talks about that in societies, in the probably not now, maybe 100 or 200 years back, so many societies, because that time mortality rate was high, especially after pregnancy or childbirth. Only hospitals and all other facilities are there. So that time mortality rate was quite high. So possibility is there that if not in the first delivery, second or third, the lady would die, wife would die. So what is the option? Sister. Why? Because it was thought socially maybe as you take care of her and same bloodline. So in a better way.
There is a movie also, na, Nadiya Ke Par, on the same thing. An old movie, Nadiya Ke Par.
वही
हाँ अरे वो उसी का रीमेक है नदिया के पास का रीमेक है हम आपके
And interestingly, when
हाँ उसमें होता था बस पिक्चर
when I was working in Sikkim, once I was there in Dachin and Dachin, the North Sikkim. There are Bhutia communities still live there, but they don't call themselves Bhutia; they call it Lachunpa and Lachinpa, Dachin and Dachin. So there they have a practice called like it's a polyandry. Polyandry means brothers marry a single wife. Multiple brothers marry a single wife. Polyandry, yeah, polyandry.
हाँ अभी आया था ना हाँ आया था
हाँ अभी न्यूज़ में आया. So then we were discussing about that with a local guy who was educated, who was some modern everything. Then we discussing. Said that okay, then we were interviewing him actually on camera. Then he said that see, whether people like it or not, whether people agree with us or not, but this is a different side of it. Why? If you go to the Lachin and Rasul, like 14,000 feet altitude, you don't have land. You have very limited amount of land. Probably you cannot do anything. कुछ उगा नहीं सकते हैं वहाँ. ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा you can put some apple tree. So they have very limited resources. So two brothers marrying one wife, their family land will not be divided. If two brothers have two wives, then after one generation there will have two division of the property. Then after it will be fold, it will go on, and after that nothing will be. So probably that time tribal societies or those societies decided that let's not keep dividing our property, so let's have only one wife. Even if there are multiple brothers. So going from outside judging them or how they can do that is a mere stupidity of the outsiders, right?
मैंने काम किया है इस पर एक तो सोसाइटी है केरला में और एक सोसाइटी है देहरादून के पास उत्तराखंड. वहाँ एक स्त्री जो है कई पत्नियों के साथ 5 तक जिसको बोलते हैं पांडव, तो वो अभी भी प्रिवेलेंट है.
कौन सा? बहुत सारे
Naya. No, taking down also talk about Naya, right?
और नायर में
Naya. So Naya, interestingly, what happens is that see, they will have a male companion. Okay, they are not bothered about husband wife. They want child to take their lineage further. So they will start living together. They will have a male companion. Girl can choose their male companion. They will come and stay together. Once the girl gets pregnant, they will keep the boy out. They have nothing to do with it. They only have, they will only concentrate on the child. And that's how their property also passes. Matrilineal. Mother's line and property will pass.
डॉक्यूमेंटेड है केवल 2 सोसाइटी, लेकिन बताते हैं कि शायद हिमाचल प्रदेश में भी होती है.
Himachal, even Meghalaya is not merely matrilineal, it is even matriarchal.
मैट्रिलिनियल तो बहुपति की बात कर रहे हैं.
नहीं, वो polyandry.
पोलियन में तो ही जगह पर बताया जाता है, लेकिन हिमाचल में भी कहीं है ऐसा बताते हैं.
खासी जनजाति
Khasi is matriarchal.
मैट्रिलिनियल भी बोलते हैं. मैट्रिलिनियल मतलब मातृक से उनका जो
Matric, see, there are several terms, but Khasi is now.
वो मातृक.
Khasi community, what is happening now? Previously, like after marriage, girl goes to the boy's house. In Khasi society, boy has to go to the girl's house. That is called matrilocal and patrilocal. If the girl comes to the boy's house, it is called patrilocal, paternal side. If the boy goes to the girl's house, it is called matrilocal. But in Khasi and all, what happened recently, recent time if you go and see, it became now a develop a whole new idea. How? Because the neighboring community are not like that. So they started feeling kind of complexity. So now what they do, most of the cases, they will go to a new house. So it is called neo-local now. So although some of the practice remain like that, but some of the practice is changed. But property is still controlled by maternal line only, but interestingly, where mama is the caretaker. Mother's brother. So that's what mother's brother is a very important kinship relation in probably most of the societies. What is the time? 3:30. So this is also another very interesting side of the translation, feminism and gender. Traditional idea of translation, what we think that active original is the active original, and passive is the translation. So it is actually appropriated with the sexuality, where man and woman play similar active and passive roles. Lot of discussion has happened actually in the West, but in India probably very few people they have written about this. Men and women play similar active and passive roles in society as well as in terms of sexuality, where men take the lead. So active, original enjoys, original text enjoys a little higher pace. Translation enjoys a little lower pace, right? In traditional thinking. Because translation has been considered as a secondary act, not a primary act. Primary act is the original text, from where text has been being translated. So, in terms of that also, see, feminism, they are saying that translation is also seen like that, like this feministic idea where man and woman play similar active and passive roles in the society as well as in terms of sexuality. So, as we can see that while translating a text, we have to follow two methods. That's what Peter Newmark said: transference or componential analysis, or Venuti is telling domestication or foreignization. That's what William von Humboldt also is telling, that there is no middle path. All the translation seems to me simply an attempt to solve an impossible task. Every translator is doomed to be done by the one of the two stumbling blocks. He will either stay too close to the original at the cost of taste and the language of his nation, or he will adhere too closely to the characteristics peculiar to his nation at the cost of the original. We have only two ways: either we can be nearer to the original, or it can be nearer to the target. The medium between the two is not only difficult but downright impossible. So, as a translator, never try to balance things. Either you come close to your own language and culture, or you be closer to the original. Okay. Okay, next slide maybe something of similar that will come. Okay. Quoting Robert Frost and Joseph Brodsky. Robert Frost we all know. Okay, very, yeah, miles to go before I sleep. He wrote that poetry lost in translation, right? We all know he is a Nobel laureate, well, accepted by the readers. But have you heard about the person's name Joseph Brodsky? Yeah, originally Russian, but he is also a Nobel laureate. But he is not as popular as Robert Frost, because he is not part of the colonial culture. Maybe there is nobody who was promoting him as much as Robert Frost was promoted. So interestingly, Joseph Brodsky said that, what he said that it's an act of treachery or something. Joseph Brodsky said that poetry gained in translation, just opposite to what Robert Frost said. Because while something is being translated, it's acquire new meaning. Always, anything you translate, it takes always acquire new meaning. The translator adds layer of new meaning to the text. That's how the text gains. That's what Joseph Brodsky says, that poetry gains in translation. And quoting that, Sina Iyengar, she is a market a psychoeconomist who studies market. He says that when it comes to choice, we again come back to the choice thing, we have far more to gain than to lose by engaging in the many translation of the narratives. So, I personally believe that no translation is correct or no translation is incorrect. I mean, everything is okay, everything. I mean, if you ask me, I have done some translation, okay, tell me it is right or wrong. I will say that no, yours is right. If somebody else is also bringing their own translation, no, that is also right. Because that is how we understand the text. And while understanding, everything is there. My cultural context, my understanding, my political ideology, whether I am a Marxist, leftist, rightist, centrist or whatever, everything will play its own role while I read a text and understand it. And while I write, again everything will play a role. So to judge a translation is correct or incorrect, you can probably only do by linguistic standards like spelling mistake, syntax problem. But to say that meaning wise translation is not correct, at least I will not believe that. I don't agree with that idea. Because while you pick up a text, read it, understand it, then you write it in your own language or the language you are translating into, it different level it acquires different layer of meaning. And as a translator, we cannot escape. So there has to, that process has to be there, and it will definitely gain new layer of meaning. So instead of replacing one story with another, we can learn from and reveal in the many versions that exist and the many versions yet to be written. See, if I believe there can be only one translation of one text, there cannot be more version. If you have seen probably in your language also, in my language what happens, same Shakespeare's drama has been translated again and again. Now if you see the history of Assamese literature, if a Shakespeare's Othello was translated 1900, maybe after 20 years again somebody has translated the Othello, and both are different. Why? What was the need for translating it again? Because it is already there. No, but if you read that, you will find that, oh no, the need was there, because the translators, the idea, translators understanding how he sees that meaning of the text is different entirely. It gives you a completely different idea, completely different reading, and that's how a literature actually became more rich, right? If we stop, that's what she is also trying to tell. If we replace one person with the another, then it is there. The literature or our language cannot be richer. So we have to create different versions, and probably this is the way. No matter where we are from and what your narrative is, we all have a responsibility to open ourselves up to a wider area of what choice can do and what it can represent. And this doesn't lead to a paralyzing moral relativism. Rather, it teaches us when and how to write. So I believe, as a translator, we should be always open to different ideas, different versions, and we should believe that there is no right translation or wrong translation. Any translation that is done is right, and everybody has right to read the text and understand it in their own way. And while we doing so, my culture or your culture, everything will have its own rule. What I believe, I do. So nobody should say that, okay, translation translation has to be only this way. No, it can happen differently. That's what probably we can relate with what Sir will be talking last day, Indian tradition. That's why we have different types of things in Indian tradition. Rewriting, commentary, everything, all these kind of things. Our Indian tradition probably we have accommodated all those ideas, but Western tradition of translation probably failed in that. I have that much to say, I think. Thank you.